Pecha Kucha 272, Mobile Fighter G Gundam, and redoing my raoh manga page. So I spent most of this week arsing around, but it wasn't just random arsing around. I was specifically arsing around, watching a Gundam anime that just showed up in my queue. Someone was kind enough to completely upload all of it for free. But before that, I watched Keanu Reeves playing the part of both Neo and Keanu Reeves ask me, how do we know what is real? In the Unreal Engine 5, I guess, tech demo, which is visually very good. But the potential of this to change the gaming industry as they portray, as they kind of showed what the engine is capable of, using some of the dated and most lazy gaming techniques there is. The jury's out on this. It's up to games developers to use this engine for good, not evil. Let's see what happens. But yeah, Mobile Fighter G Gundam is a kung fu super robot show, unlike any other Gundam show. It's frivolous in nature, which is kind of the reason that I'm happy to watch this. Because if I wanted depressing, I'd just watch the fucking news, right? So basically, on Earth, every nation has a Gundam, and those Gundams fight for control of the world and the space around the world where all the space people live. And you follow the Neo Japan fighter and some of the other fighters who become the main cast, who are quite an interesting bunch of people as they fight each other. There's also I don't know if I'd call it a subplot or a major plot, where the main character has to fight against Devil Gundam, which is trying to destroy the world. It seems to vary in its importance to the overall arc of the show. The animation of the show is hand-drawn, replete with repeating animations to save money. And I have no complaints about it. I thoroughly enjoy watching the show and listening to the show, and some of the characters are legendary. Master Asia, Undefeated of the East, is one of my favourite anime characters of all time. He's the reason I'm watching the show. He's a man who sits on his horse by standing on his horse. He plays by his own rules. He's strong enough to fight Gundams without being in a fucking Gundam. He's so much bullshit awesome, it's hilarious. This guy is the representative of Neo Germany. He looks like that because it's a representation of his flag. He's actually a ninja, and he's the second mentor to the main character. And he's the second best reason to watch the show. He's a ninja. He's cool. He's cool as all fucking things. Domon, the main character, is the stupidest protagonist I've ever experienced in any work of fiction. And I'm finding it difficult to keep watching the show because he's so stupid. But all in all, I'm having a lot of fun. I'm halfway through the show, and I will keep watching. So what did I actually do this week? Well, I was just of the mind of going back to something I'd started and seeing if I could just do more, and get comfortable with the idea of coming back to stuff that I've left, to finish it, to improve, and actually not even finish it, just to keep adding to it, because that's, I think, a psychological roadblock for me. So with this picture of raoh, I was just like, I wanted to give it more depth. I wanted the shoulder pads to feel more like you could see the shadows underneath them. You could get a better sense of the form of the cape. It's really just a case of looking at what I think isn't working, how I can improve these things. What was the original intention when I set out to draw this page? The picture of Ray, I always wanted him to look cool with a look of grim determination on his face because he's about to attack raoh. How do I draw that? So I've redrawn his face with something that feels more like what I was originally trying to hope to get to, but lost because of referencing. And then the same thing with raoh. I want raoh to kind of have this cold, dead stare thing going on. And I think the second time, without me worrying so much about directly referencing the characters, I'm still looking at reference, but I'm not using it as like a crutch. I feel like I'm getting closer to the idea that I had. And then just, because I'm kind of jumping all over the place and trying to figure out, what the easy things are I can try to approach. I've come back in to do the sky. And I feel like the first panel does give me a sense of, you know what, if I was squinting, I might look at this and think it's actually manga. And then it was like, how do I approach Raoh's helmet? You know, using airbrushing to do the cylindrical shape of his helmet. It makes perfect sense, but is it too blurry for it to look like a manga page? I have this idea in my head that it just needs to click for me. And then I'm backing off again to see if I can do Ray's hands, because he's supposed to be striking a stance. But those big, bad, manly hands they have in Fist of the North Star, it's not like I have a lot of experience drawing them. So really, the thing for me to do is to draw a hand. Now I have a hand in place, and now I can go get my reference, and I can edit this hand until it's the hand it needs to be. And the same thing with his face. The face, I feel like I lose something the more specific I get with my line work. But again, the entire point of this is to avoid the psychological traps of the process and the progress. And then at the bottom I was like, let me just redraw the support characters watching this unfold, to make them look more short key manga. That's not the word I want to use. To make them look like they would look if I knew how to draw manga characters pulling manga faces. So this is where we are right now, and let's see what happens next week. I was just kind of randomly dipping into things like in my file list. This was near the top, so this is both timely, and it just happened to be something I came across. I'm not making any promises to continue this or not, but the mindset of let's just add and subtract and add and subtract and make peace with it being a process, instead of the situation I'm currently in where I'll stop working on any given day, and whatever the quality of the work is, I find a reason to kind of get upset about it. That's what was really happening with me through Inktober. Even when I was doing some of the most intense and articulate artwork I've done in quite a while, and I'm quite happy with quite a lot of it, but not as happy as I would like to be. But that, again, that stuff that's going on in my head, that's not really about the art itself. So that brings us to the end of Pecha Kucha 272, and I'll see you next time.